Good evening from Serendipity Forge. I want to make a short video this evening. One of our Facebook friends had requested that we talk a little bit about knife handle design. And that is an important topic. You know, these days, everybody wants to talk about the knife's made out of EDC V2, or it's made out of this tool steel, or that tool steel, or this fancy steel, or that fancy steel, and it has a flat grind, or it has a convex grinder, it has a Scandi grinder, it has this grinder, that grinder, a chisel grinder, any grind, and the tip is like such and such, and it measures so many. You know what? Doesn't matter. If you can't hold on to it, you might as well not have it. The handle is absolutely an important part of the knife. The first consideration, in my opinion, and everything I'm about to say is my opinion, none of this is set in stone, it's all just my opinion. The first thing, in my opinion, is the knife has to be user-friendly. The knife has to be user-friendly, and the handle has to be comfortable in order for it to be user-friendly. So if I'm doing a custom build, I'll always ask a customer, hey, how tall are you? And I've gotten some strange responses to that question. But I'm asking for a reason, because most of the time, if I know how tall somebody is, it tells me a lot about their hand size. So I know whether to make the handle a little longer or a little shorter. And in certain knives, in larger knives especially, or hard use knives, in choppers per se, for example, that handle really needs to fill the hand really well. I don't really have a chopper here. The last one that I worked on is already gone out, but I do have an 8-inch cleaver. This cleaver fills the hand, and I have a little sticking out. I've got plenty to hold on to. This handle has a slight finger well, and then another little convex area right here for my fingers to go into, so that when my hand closes, it's locked in. It's not coming out. I don't have to put a death grip on this to hang on to it. Anybody that uses a knife for a living knows that if you put a death grip on that knife, if you put a death grip on that blade and you hold it like that, you hammer fist that knife, that's just going to wear you out. That's like when I'm using my hammer at the forge. You hold a hammer like this all the time, that's just going to wear you out. Hold it loose. And if you're using a knife for a long time, you should have a handle that you can hang on to without white knuckling it. So in order for that to happen, you usually have to have some kind of contour in the handle. Here's another one, for instance. This is just a 4-inch camp knife, just a general use knife made for a customer. It's got curly maple handles. Got to finish the curly maple. But notice that handle. It's only a 4-inch blade. It's forged from 3/16-inch thick steel. So it's a fairly heavy blade. It's got a good flat grind, and then it comes down to a convex edge. And that edge will stand up to some hard use because it's a general use camp knife. Now that handle is a little shorter than the cleaver handle, but it fills the hand. It locks in. It's not going anywhere. I don't have to hammer fist and white knuckle that handle to hang on to it. It's not going anywhere. Notice the handle shape. Little finger well, little convex, little kick down at the back, so it can't slip. Also notice on this one, it's contoured from the side. I don't know anybody's hands that are flat. I'm sure somebody out there is more comfortable with flat handled scales, but I haven't met them yet. So, contoured is usually more comfortable. The contouring on a handle will help you retain a knife without having to white knuckle it. Now, that's for the larger knives. Smaller knives, well, this is one of my little EDC knives. This handle is bone. And that handle is only, a little over 3¼ inches long. No contouring there because the bone wasn't thick enough to stand the contouring. But notice the shape. Little finger well, little convex, and even though it's short, it locks in really well. That knife is not going anywhere. I can work with it all day. I can choke up on it. I can grip it back here, or I can hold it like that. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be secure in the hand, and I don't have to worry about it slipping. Chef's knife. That one's 9 inches on the blade. This handle has a little up curve there. Most people who use a chef's knife use it for chopping. And that little up curve kind of helps in that little endeavor, in my opinion. Curly maple, contoured toward the front, a little kick, a little finger well. That knife's not going anywhere. Now I do notice that the scales, the handles are not big, thick, chunky, blocky things. I wouldn't put a chunky handle on a chef's knife because most of the people that I've seen use these very seldom hold them like this. They're choked up. So this little taper lets you choke up comfortably on that knife and use it and hang on to it, and it's not going anywhere. As you can tell, I prefer to work in natural materials. Wood, antler, bone, that's my thing. Occasionally we work in a little bit in some acrylics. I do have one acrylic handle here, and we make these acrylics in house. My wife comes up with all the crazy colors, and while they're not necessarily my thing, there are some people that love them, and they do look cool. Again, same contour. That knife will be there all day, and I don't have to squeeze it to death. A little different. Another little small EDC knife. But again, I've got that contour. As far as handle length, like I said earlier, a taller person usually has a bigger hand. With a large knife, per se, for a generality, you need at least 4 inches. Usually you're going to be better with 4¼ 4½, but you need at least 4 inches of handle length. And I mean usable handle length. This one is 4½ inches. And it's just right. 4 to 4½ inches on a larger knife is what you need. Smaller knives, depending on how you designed the handle, depending on how you contoured it, and its prospective use, you can get by with a lot shorter. Like I said, tiny little 3½ inch handle, locks right in. Again, small knife, short handle. This one's 3¾ It's not going anywhere. Another thing on handle design, I noticed that I see a lot of knives at shows that are coming from nations other than the United States. And if you see enough of them, you can really spot them, because they're always going to have the fake Damascus. They're going to have some kind of funky blade shape, and the handles are always going to be big, thick, chunky blocks. A handle on a knife shouldn't be thick and chunky and blocky. Because if it's blocky, it's gonna be uncomfortable. And if it's uncomfortable, it's not gonna be useful in the long run. If it's blocky, every time you hold that knife and you use it, you're gonna have a hot spot on your hand. And if you use it long term and use it long enough, you're gonna end up with a blister. And that's definitely not comfortable. I'm a blacksmith. I know all about blisters. So, a knife handle should not have hot spots. It should be smooth. It should have contours. It should be contoured to fit the hand. You ought to consider the person it's going to and the use of the knife. A knife that's going to see heavy use, you need to make sure you build in some retention into the handle so that it's locked in without having to put the death grip on it. Even with a smaller blade, make sure when you make a knife handle, you build in some retention so that when the hand folds around it, it's just naturally locked in there without having to white knuckle and death grip it. Keep it smooth, keep it contoured, make it useful, make it comfortable. That's what makes a good knife handle. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to help some folks get pointed in the right direction. Maybe you have a different idea of what makes a good knife handle. Maybe you have different opinions, and that's fine. Like I said, this is only my opinion. This is what I think. Everybody's got their own ways and their own tastes, but it seems to work. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a great night. Like and subscribe. Leave us a comment for any kind of ideas for future content. We appreciate your time, and have a blessed night from Serendipity Forge.